Help me reach 7,000 subscribers. Please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. Your feedback helps make the content better. Ray's backyard was full of warm light and loud music when Tessa decided she didn't have a husband. She moved through the crowd like she was auditioning for freedom, laughing too close, hair flips, a hand on a stranger's shoulder a beat too long. I stood by the grill with Ray, tongs in his hand, when she hooked a finger in some guy's chain and leaned into his ear. Ray glanced at me. "You want to shut that down?" "I'm not her chaperone," I told him, eyes on my wife. Tessa caught my look, smirked like she'd just won a prize, and turned her back to me. The guy's friends watched to see what I'd do. Good audience. I set my beer on the rail, walked across the deck, and stopped 2 feet from her. "We're done here." She pivoted, bright smile. "Relax, Grant. It's Ray's birthday." "Exactly. And I won't let you use it as a stage." I raised my voice enough to cut the music. This was the last line. "I'm leaving." "That's dramatic," she tossed back. "Then remember the scene." I looked at Ray. "Thanks for the invite. I'll call you tomorrow." I turned, walked out the side gate, and drove home. No yelling. No debate. Just the line. If I'd known where it was headed, I'd have left 10 minutes earlier and saved myself the hope. She arrived 15 minutes after me. The front door clicked, then her heels crossed the hardwood. I was at the sink, rinsing smoke off my hands. "Okay," she breathed, setting her clutch down. I pushed. "I know." "You performed," I corrected. "Different sport." I got carried away. I wanted to feel noticed. It was stupid. Her voice softened. "I'm sorry, Grant. I won't do that again." "Tell me you mean that tomorrow morning," I replied. "Tonight you want to put out a fire. Tomorrow we'll talk about the matches." She nodded quickly, like she'd take any condition. Tomorrow. I slept on my side of the bed and listened to the ceiling fan. Apologies at midnight are cheap. We'd see the interest rate at breakfast. In the morning, I made eggs. She hovered at the island in one of my shirts, quiet as if silence could be a down payment. "I heard you," I began. "So here's how it's going to work for a while." Her eyebrows lifted. "Rules. Structure," I said. "We take a pause on couples nights. You handle your social calendar. I handle mine. No shows where I'm a prop. If you go out, courtesy text by 10. Not permission, information. And we separate discretionary spending. Joint account covers the house and basics. Your extras aren't my tab, mine aren't yours." "That's a lot," she said, reaching for a mug. "It's basic. Respect is easy until you have to show it." I apologized. She reminded me, more steel in her voice now. "Accepted," I said. "And this is me making sure we don't repeat the same scene." She took a sip, studied me over the rim. "You're punishing me." "Wrong word. I'm protecting the marriage from your boredom." Her mouth opened, shut. "So the camping trip with Jenna and Ray next weekend?" "Not going," I answered. "I'll tell Ray today." She let out a small laugh. "You're serious?" I put my fork down. "Tessa, I'm not competing with strangers at parties to get my wife's attention. I'm not auditioning at home either. These are my terms for calm." She stared at the countertop, then at me, like she was calculating how far to push. "Fine. Good. Last thing," I added, wiping my hands. "No jokes about me in front of your friends for a while. If you want to talk about me, talk to me." "So I can't joke?" She tilted her head. "Are we in a courtroom now? You can joke. You can also read a room. Choose wisely." She rolled her eyes and walked to the living room. I sent a quick text to the group chat, pulling the plug on the camping trip. "Work and timing. Rain check." Within a minute, Jenna replied with a thumbs up. Ray added a shrug. And then, of course, Tessa chimed in. "Grant's in his responsible era." I put my phone down. Public is public. Jenna called. "You two okay?" "We will be," I told her. "I'm resetting a few things." "Copy that. I'll keep Ray out of it." She paused. "Tessa's been restless." I noticed. Work was a relief. Sheetrock and schedules don't play games. Around noon, the shop bell rang, and Tessa walked in with a paper bag. I brought lunch. She set it on the workbench like a peace offering. "Turkey and avocado. Your usual." Dan, my foreman, looked up from the cut list, threw me a glance, and headed out to the yard with a stack of studs. "I can feed myself," I said, but I opened the bag. It was actually my usual. She knew. "I meant what I said last night," she went on. "About stopping the nonsense." "Good," I replied. "You'll have plenty of chances to prove it." She reached out and straightened a tape measure by my elbow, small neat touch. How about dinner Friday? Just us. No phones. That works, I agreed. Home. Keep it simple. Home is fine, she said a little too quickly. I'll cook. She kissed my cheek on the way out like we were in a commercial. Dan came back in as the door shut. You two on a truce? He asked deadpan. We're on a test, I said. Same thing, he muttered, penciling a note. Then he added, you know last week when the crew was over at your place helping with the fence? Tessa joked about your leash being long that night. Figured you should know. Appreciate it, I told him. The leash broke. I spent lunch moving my direct deposit to a separate account and switching the gas card to personal. Not dramatic, not secret, adult logistics. I texted Tessa a heads up. I've separated discretionary spending for now. How stuff stays joint. We'll review in a month. She answered with a thumbs up, then a heart. Then, totally understand. Proud of you being so organized. At 5, she called. Becca invited me to a housewarming tonight. I told you I'd cook Friday, but today's nothing. You mind? Do what you want, I answered. I'm heading to Mark's garage to help him with his carburetor. Don't wait up. Okay. She paused. We're good. We're what I said we are, I replied. Respect and clear lines. At Mark's, a radio played classic rock too low to drown the hum of a trouble light. He wiped his hands and squinted at me over the hood. Heard you caused a stir at Ray's. I left early, I said, handing him a wrench. He grinned. That's one way to cause a stir. We worked in companionable silence. The carb sat on the bench like a stubborn puzzle. Around 9, Tessa's text popped up. Home by 10, promise. Be safe. Promise. Better than nothing. I put the phone face down and kept tightening bolts. Saturday afternoon, we hit Jenna's barbecue, neutral ground, and Tessa tried on a different costume. She stayed near me, passed me a plate, laughed at my dry comment about Ray's secret rub like I was charming again. She leaned into my arm for a second. I let it happen because it cost me nothing. Becca showed up, all bracelets and commentary, and locked onto Tessa. So, Mrs. Responsible Era, she teased, loud enough for the table. How's life with Grant's new spreadsheet policy? Tessa glanced at me, then at Becca. He thinks structure is romantic, she said, sugar on the edges. My phone now has a curfew. A couple of people laughed. Ray threw me a look across the patio. I put my cup down. No curfew, I corrected, voice even. Courtesy. Works both ways. See? Becca said with mock sympathy. Mutual courtesy. Adorable. Becca, I said, meeting her eyes. If you don't have anything useful to add, grab another burger. Her mouth snapped shut. Jenna coughed into her cup, hiding a smile. Tessa's smile thinned. That was unnecessary. Public comments get public answers, I replied. That's how we're doing it now. Ray flipped a sausage and muttered, fair. After the plates were cleared, Tessa touched my arm. Can we not turn my friends into referees? You open the arena, I said. Close it. She nodded tightly. Noted. She did try, for a few days. She woke me with coffee, put her phone face down at dinner, asked about a bid I'd been chasing. When I mentioned an early inspection, she said, you've got it. Like she'd switched teams and memorized the chant. Friday came. Dinner at home. She cooked salmon and put on a playlist that sounded like a waiting room. We ate in relative calm. This is nice, she said. It is, I agreed, and it was, in a small way. Halfway through, her phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it, then at me. Work. Let it wait, I suggested. It's the new vendor. I'll be quick. 2 minutes became 12. She came back, apologetic smile. Fire put out. The house is full of water lately, I said. Don't start, she warned. I already started, I replied. And I'll finish. If this works, great. If it doesn't, you'll know because I'll leave, not because I'll nag. She swallowed that, the edges of her mouth tight, then reached for my hand. I'm trying. So am I. The next week, I said another line without drama. We'd been doing Sunday brunch with her yoga crowd. I canceled. Sent the group a simple note. Taking a break from group Sundays. Catch you in a month. Tessa read it, then stared me down. You're dismantling our life, she accused. I'm rebuilding the part one can stand in. I said. You can be in it. But not like before. Midweek, she arrived at my shop again, this time with a bakery box. She moved slower, lighter touch. I know I've been restless, she said, voice low. I'm bored, Grant. Not with you. With us. There's a difference. There used to be, I said, flipping a blueprint. Now it's a distinction without a difference. She opened the box. I'm trying to put the air back in the tires. Good. Keep pumping, I said, and she smiled despite herself. That was her first soft turn. The second came quick, louder. Saturday morning she showed up in the yard, hair pulled back, no makeup, my college hoodie on her shoulders, and helped me spread mulch. She cursed at the wheelbarrow, laughed when it squeaked, and high-fived me at the end like we'd won a small war. After a shower, she curled against me on the couch for a movie and barely checked her phone. A different woman, all weekend. I didn't trust it. I enjoyed it like you enjoy weather, grateful for sun, still keeping the storm windows. 2 weeks later, Jenna hosted a small dinner, wine and lasagna, 6 of us around the table. Peaceful, until Becca couldn't help herself. So, how's the new regime? She prodded, spearing a tomato. Any infractions? Tessa smirked. He keeps an Excel sheet, she said. Dates, times, violations. Cute, I said, not smiling. Keep going. Ray leaned back. Maybe shelve the bits, Tess. She waved him off. We're fine. Right, Grant? We're on probation, I said. Different word. God, she laughed. You're exhausting. My point, I answered. Silence hit the table. It sat there until Jenna changed the subject to her garden. Later, in the kitchen, Tessa cornered me by the sink. You embarrassed me. You wrote the script, I answered. I read my line. She stared. You really are changing. Finally, I said. That night at home, she tried charm again, softer this time. She climbed into my lap on the patio chair and kissed my neck, off and on, like a metronome. I like you when you're stern, she whispered. I like you when you're kind, I answered, standing and setting her gently on her feet. We both have preferences. She rolled her eyes, but she didn't push. For a week, things held. Then came the Tuesday that broke the last support beam. I was on a late job, finishing an inspection and a walkthrough that went long because the homeowner liked telling stories about his fishing trophies. I texted Tessa at 9:30, running late. Probably home a little after 10. No response. Okay. I drove home through quiet streets and pulled into the driveway at 10:45. Kitchen light off. Living room dark. Bedroom empty. I set my keys in the bowl, checked the back door out of instinct, and finally texted. Where are you? Her answer came fast. I'm not your property. I'll be late. Don't call. I stood there with the phone in my hand, and something very simple clicked. Not a shout. Not a wound. A switch. I typed. I'm not your husband from this moment. Don't come back. Then I put the phone on the counter like it was a tool I didn't need for the rest of the job, and went to the closet. I pulled her suitcases down, blue one, gray one, and started packing. Not angry. Not tossing. Neat stacks. Work clothes, weekend clothes, shoes in bags, bathroom drawer into a toiletry case. I gathered her chargers, her makeup bag, her library book. I unplugged her vanity mirror and coiled the cord. I took the spare key off the hook and set it on the table. I called Todd, the neighbor who does locksmithing on the side. He answered on the second ring. You okay, man? I need a cylinder change tonight, I said. Front and back. I'll pay double. I'll bring the kit, he replied. Give me 20. He arrived in 15, quiet as a cat. I held the flashlight while he swapped the hardware. He didn't ask questions, just handed me the new keys when we were done and took the old ones in a zip bag. You want me to stick around? He asked. I'm fine, I told him. Thanks. Call if you need me, he said, and headed out. I set the 2 suitcases by the door and sat at the kitchen table. 11:29. Heard it on Find My. A courtesy we'd both agreed to years ago. Sat at some address I didn't recognize. I didn't stare at it. My decisions don't need a GPS. Headlights swung across the wall just after midnight. The front handle rattled. Pause. Rattle again. Then the door pounded. 3 short hits. Grant. Her voice through wood. My key isn't working. I opened the door with the chain on. She had her purse in one hand and indignation in the other. What did you do? She snapped. I closed the door, slipped the chain, and opened it fully. Your suitcases. She looked down, then up, then down again. What is this? I'm finishing the conversation you started, I said, steady. I held out my ring. And this. Her face went through 3 expressions I didn't have time to catalog. This is insane. We had a fight. No, I corrected. We had a test. You sent the answer. I read it. She glanced past me into the kitchen. We can talk. We won't, I replied. You wrote it yourself. I'm not your property. Right. And I don't keep what isn't mine. These are your things. Go to your parents, your lovers, your crowd, whoever you want. But you don't live here from this moment. You can't do this, she fired back. You mistake me for a man asking permission. She put a foot over the threshold, testing. I slid the suitcases toward her with my foot. Don't. It wasn't a threat. It was a boundary. She stopped. You're making a huge mistake. Maybe, I said, but I don't make the same one twice. Grant, listen to me. I've been listening for months. Now I'm done. Pick up your bags. Her eyes filled. She reached for the ring in my hand. I put it in hers. Where am I supposed to go? She asked softer. It's midnight. Your family, I said. Or a friend. You've rehearsed this night for a while. You just didn't expect me to say my line. She tried one last angle. You'll regret this in the morning. In the morning, I said, I'll be filing the paperwork. She held my eyes like she could pull something from them. Finding nothing, she took the handles, turned, and walked down the steps. The wheels thumped twice on the concrete. I closed the door, turned the deadbolt, and laid my new keys on the table. I slept. Not well, not badly. Just horizontal with a clear decision in the room. At 8 sharp, I showered, shaved, put on a clean shirt, and drove to the clerk's office. Paperwork is dull until it saves your life. I filled in every line. On the way back, I stopped for coffee and texted Tessa a single note from a new email I'd created for this purpose. Your remaining items are boxed. Availability for pickup Saturday, 10 to 12, or Sunday 2 to 4. Reply here only. The phone rang 5 times before noon, her number flashing. I let it go. She left 4 messages I didn't listen to. Jenna texted, Are you home? What happened? Call me. I answered her with, I'm okay. I made a decision. I'll explain later. At work, Dan watched me measure out a run of cabinets. You look 10 pounds lighter, he observed. I'm 10 pounds clearer, I corrected. Whatever you did, he said, you did it clean. That was the goal. Tessa sent an email at 2. We shouldn't throw away years over one night. I'm sorry for that text. I was angry. Please meet me. I replied, we're not throwing anything. We're setting it down. Saturdays 10 to 12 or Sunday 2 to 4 for the rest of your things. At 6, Ray called. I answered him because Ray deserves answers. I heard, he began. I know, I said. You sure? I'm sure, I replied. I gave her every chance. I put a fence around us. She climbed it. Silence. Then, you need anything? Dinner, I said, surprising myself. Something stupid and greasy. He laughed once. On my way, he and Jenna showed up with paper bags and quiet faces. We ate at the island. Jenna finally asked, did she really? She sent me a message, I said. I sent one back. Then I followed it. Jenna rested her chin on her hand. She keeps calling me. You can answer if you want, I told her. Just don't carry messages. I'm not negotiating. We won't, Ray promised. Saturday morning, Tessa's dad pulled up in a pickup. He's a decent man who likes hunting and not talking. He looked at me like he'd seen a lot of young men think they were strong. I looked back like I finally was. She in the truck, he said. I figured. He nodded at the boxes. This all of it. For now, I said. The rest is in the garage. Tools, blender, the framed prints. If I missed anything, email. I'm not playing hide and seek. He took a breath. You too. Sir, I cut in. I respect you. I won't discuss your daughter with you. I'll carry the heavy stuff and hold the door. That's all. He studied me a second more, then nodded once. We moved the boxes. Tessa stayed in the cab, sunglasses on, not looking up. Her dad closed the tailgate and stuck out a hand. Good luck. You too, I said, and meant it. By Sunday evening, my house felt like a place again. Quiet. I sat on the porch and listened to nothing important. The sky did what it always does without me giving it instructions. The week after, I blocked her number. She found new ones. I blocked those. She emailed. I replied only to logistics, dates and times, receipts for the utility split, a short note about forwarding mail. I never answered a sentence that started with why or please or remember. Her friends tried a few times. I didn't make them my problem. A month later, papers arrived back stamped and real. I signed the final signatures. The house stayed with me. The truck, obviously. Half the savings, clean math. We never had kids, no pets, no shared business, just a mortgage and habits. Habits are harder, but at least they don't hire lawyers. I threw myself at work. Took the bids that made sense, said no to the ones that looked like headaches. Dinner with Ray on Wednesdays became a thing. Jenna roped me into fixing a shelf that had been crooked for 2 years. I bought a secondhand smoker and learned it well enough to feed people without poisoning anyone. On Saturdays, I hit the gym early, the grocery after, and the hardware store with a list. A quiet life isn't dull if you build it right. I did try dating. Coffee with a nurse who laughed like she didn't know anyone. Drinks with a lawyer who asked sharp questions and paid for the second round. A hike with a teacher who hated small talk and loved trail maps. Nice women. Nothing stuck yet. That's not a failure. It's pace. Every few weeks, Tessa tried a new angle, an email, a message through Becca, a handwritten note left in the mailbox like we were in a movie. The lines changed, but the goal didn't. Pull me back into a place where disrespect felt normal. I ignored it all, politely. That's a thing people forget. You can ignore politely. It's not cruel. It's clear. I ran into Becca once in the grocery store. She stared at my cart like my milk was a confession. So you're really done? I was done the night she texted me I didn't own anything, I said. I took her word. She didn't mean it. She typed it. I answered. That's enough. She shifted, tried for leverage. She's not doing great. I believe it, I said. Choices have invoices. Becca blinked. You're colder than I expected. I'm warmer to myself than I used to be. At the end of summer, Ray and Jenna hosted another barbecue. Smaller crowd. No shows. We ate ribs off paper plates and told stories that didn't need villains. Halfway through, Jenna looked at me over the rim of her cup. You good? She asked. I'm better, I told her. You think you'll ever talk to her? I talked, I said. I finished. Everything after a period is noise. On the drive home, the windows down, the truck felt like mine in a way it hadn't in years. My phone sat quiet in the console. My house was where I left it. My bed was squared away with 2 pillows and 1 head. Peace isn't dramatic. It's just the absence of stupid. People like to think a man leaves when he's angry. I didn't. I left when I was completely calm. She had told me clearly I didn't own anything. I agreed, and I returned what never belonged to me. The job of carrying both sides of a marriage alone. I keep my keys on the hook by the door now. I make my coffee the way I like it and leave the cup in the sink until I have time. I answer texts from people who mean their words. I look at women who look back with respect. I don't spin stories in my head about someone changing if I just hold out my hands. I'm done holding out my hands. If the right woman shows up, I'll recognize her. She'll speak to me like a partner and not an audience. Until then, I'm good. I'm at my table, in my house, with my quiet and my schedule and my ring-free finger, living a life that fits me like my own jacket. As for Tessa, I hear things. She moved into a rented townhome across the river. She traded the yoga crowd for a new set of people who use different words for the same games. Her photos look like she's chasing light with a net that has a hole in it. That's not my assessment. That's just what it looks like from across a room I'm no longer standing in. Sometimes a line isn't for the other person. It's for you. Mine was simple. I won't be insulted in public, negotiated in private, and expected to smile in pictures. I won't do auditions in my own home. I won't carry 2 people alone. When she told me she wasn't mine, I heard the freest sentence in the world. Right? I told her at the door. You're not. And I'm not yours either. Door closed. Locks changed. Paper signed. Life resumed.